The Bible. Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that He used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out there anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding Him hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book and the truth will make you free. The Hebrew and Bible Academy, you're invited. To Zion.
Shalom.
I was lost, but now I'm found. I'm a child of Israel. I heard the sound. Hear the sound. Please give me the strength to stand today. With my eyes towards the east, show me the way to Zion. I'm on my knees, laying my life on the line. I'm begging, please don't let me fall. Give me the strength. Place my feet, Lord God, my path, show me the way to Zion.
That's right, brothers and sisters, to Zion, to Zion. We're the elders of the Gathering of Christ Church here live with our weekly Sabbath lessons, Shabbat Shalom, to our brothers and sisters throughout the four corners of the earth. How are you doing? Doing well? Okay, first and foremost, let me apologize to my loyal Patreon members. There was no Patreon yesterday. I just needed some time. I just wanted to relax a little bit, you know. So I'll be back next week with Patreon, and we'll throw out some extra videos there to make up for this week. So I appreciate you brothers and sisters bearing with us through such a time as this, but anytime I can get to relax before what's about to go down, even if it's one day out of the week, that's a blessing. So I hope you can appreciate the fact that I wasn't there yesterday, but I will be there next week, okay? Shabbat Shalom to you brothers and sisters throughout the four corners of the earth. Tomorrow we will be going into a deep lesson. Satan, listen to me clearly, Satan in Mecca at the Kaaba stone. You can find Satan in a few places in the earth, right? Where he meet with his high priesthood within these specific areas. The Vatican is numero uno. Mecca, number 2. The Wailing Wall, the Dome of the Rock in Israel, number 3. You're going to find out there's a reason that Christians, Muslims, and Jewish people under Judaism are all worshiping in the same area near the time of the coming of our Lord and Savior Christ. But tomorrow we'll focus on the satanic rituals at Mecca. Okay? we're going to drop what's really going on at the Rock tomorrow. Ishmael have been playing us close for a long time, working with Esau on either side against our people. And this has happened since the beginning, folks. We're talking about way back in ancient times. In the area of Idumea, Esau and Ishmael has conspired against us since we received the promise. Since Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel, have received the promise, all nations have been conspiring against us with Esau and Ishmael at the helm. And it's all coming to a head. It's all coming to a head, folks, and that's why I'm about to go into this lesson. So I hope you are there this coming Sunday, tomorrow. Satan in Mecca, the God over Islam. Allah is not the God of the Hebrews. Let's make this clear. Allah, the God they serve, is Satan, and I'll prove it. Now, let me make it clear. Is this an indictment on the believers within or under Islam who are Muslims? No. There are devout Muslims who truly believe and are morally sound. Okay? And have sought God within that religion. Some people were born into it. They couldn't help what their father and mother taught them. So there's some people, honestly, in these religions, just like in Christianity, folks, that are good people and hold the moral code that's within God's law in those religions. So this is not an indictment on Muslims. But as you go higher in degrees, when you get to the top of these religions, is where you really start to figure out who they're serving. Just like Masons. Masons usually come in for the camaraderie and all that. And they be good, honest people looking to seek and help the community. But as they go up into degrees and they get walked into a room, right? And it's like, what is this? They're like, well, listen, if you want to get to the next degree, we need to tell you what you're going into. Because Satan have always operated not just on the evil side. He created the tree of good and evil. So usually good within these religions are the bait. The pure, honest reason that we're choosing the religion is the good. See? That's the honest side of it. But not realizing that you're being what? Baited into something more, seriously sinister. So when I go into these religions, I know we're living in a time of political correctness where everyone gets offended. And I'm telling you, this is not an indictment on Christians or an indictment on Muslims who are honestly seeking God. That's why we're here. At the end of time, which we're entering into, brothers and sisters, you know the truth will be revealed and the lid will be pulled off of all these religions at the very end. And then you have a choice, an honest choice, on whether or not you're going to come to the true God you thought you were serving within these religions. Now you can't hide behind my mother or father or whatever the case is, and this is the religion I growing up, learning and practicing under. Once you get the full understanding, now it's on you to choose to stay in it or choose right. So again, when I go into Islam tomorrow, this is not an indictment on Muslims. But I don't think you understand what's really going on over there at the Kaaba stone. Now, if you follow God and follow the Bible and understood that idolatry is sacrilege according to the Bible, if you understood that you're not supposed to bow down to anything on earth, any image, including a stone, that in of itself would save you from the judgment that's coming to Mecca and those who believe within that religion. See? So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. I don't want to spend too much time on that because, folks, the reason why I don't want to spend too much time on that because we're living in a time right now where the whole world is deceived, not realizing we're living in the end of days, and you have conspirators at the apex of this. Conspirators. In Arabs, Ishmael is complicit. Any place God's people are, our people, their plan is on either side. Either Esau is coming against us, or they'll lay off and let Ishmael hit us in a different direction. But they're still working in tandem to destroy us. They've been the controllers of our community, economically and otherwise. And this is why our people got to stand up against this garbage, black or brown crap they're using politically. It's too ambiguous. When they say black or brown, that means we should let somebody in our circle strictly because they have hue in them, which is utterly ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. We've been attacked by black and brown people who are not our nation for eons. So what are you talking about, aligning me with a person because he have hue in him? That's utterly ridiculous. That's been their Trojan horse to destroy us at the very last. And I hope our people are understanding this. We've been in a battle on two fronts. One front, the battle between Jacob and Esau. Unfortunate for us, we don't know we're Jacob and don't know that we're in a war. But he's on something else, and I'm going to show you. Unfortunate for us, we don't know that they're at war with us. We believe if we do all the right things and don't harm other people and be honest and look to take care of our family, which is good, but we believe that if we do all this, then no one should have a reason to undermine or destroy us. You are naive. You could be the most honest, best person on earth, and it's not going to change the fact how the enemy views you as a threat concerning the fall of when it comes to looking at the fall of their empire and what comes next for your children. So just because you think you're an honest person and ain't hurting nobody and why are people coming against me, listen, that's not a part of the game. Okay, they're going to come at you because of who you are prophetically and what happens for your family next when their empire falls. So they're looking to get the threat out of the way before prophecy is fulfilled. You got that? As long as you're breathing on this earth and it can bring forth another child of Jacob, you are a threat to their existence, or at least their power structure going on beyond the time which was prophetically given to them. You are a threat to that. That's why they don't mind if our women get rid of over 500,000 children every year. And they'll tell you, well, don't worry about it. It's a woman's choice, knowing that it always, whatever they roll out, it indirectly affects the poor disproportionately by default. So you'll see a few of their people doing it, but at the end of the day, you'll see 500,000 of our people not getting that opportunity to breathe. That's why they don't care, because they understand the prophecy. So we going on in this day. I'll do all my announcements later. We jumping right in. The end of days. The end of days is our particular lesson today. Elder Lawyer, if you will.
Sir. Shema Yasha'Allah Ahaya Allahayanawa Ahaya Achad.
Shema Yasha'Allah Ahaya Allahayanawa Ahaya Achad.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one God. Now, jumping right in, the end of days, we're going to talk about this. Okay? On the geopolitical side, for those who don't understand what's going on, I'm going to break this down in a nutshell before jumping in to the Bible. Because sometimes we here in America looking at things through the lens of the satanic lying media tend not to view what's going on in the earth as one prophecy. The end of days. We think that what's going on in America is independent from the rest of the world. That's our thought. They've programmed and isolated us to believe under the guise of patriotism that we're sheltered from prophecy or whatever the case is, that everything and every other land in the earth is independent with their own government and with their own problems to solve. So I'm going to quantify this for you politically. Everything you've seen that went down in the Middle East after the so-called World Trade Center, and well before that they were doing this. Okay? And I'm talking about Desert Storm, the invasion on Iraq, the takedown of Libya, the takedown of Afghanistan to get lithium to use for the devices that they'll track us with. Lithium is in the mountains of Afghanistan. That's why they had to take Afghanistan, for the devices to track people. Now, going all the way into what? The Arab Spring in Egypt for regime change and all that. When we heard of who? ISIS, Al Qaeda. You notice they're magically disappeared? Hamas, right? Now Hamas is the new boogeyman, right? Everything that you see internationally, we're going to go into, but understand it's the same playbook that's about to go down here in America. What is the playbook? Y'all might ask. Well, Elder Ricard Shiar, what is the playbook? Well, you must have a boogeyman. Esau, being the cunning hunter, must always have a boogeyman to fight behind. So that's why they'll talk about terrorist groups and this group or that group. So now when they attack that particular group unjustly or attack the targeted people, they can now blanket it and say, well, all the people that we were targeting from the beginning was a part of Al Qaeda, ISIS, or whatever boogeyman they create. See what I'm saying? You understand? So now no one can now what? Come against or question their unethical attacks because they wiped out a group that was a threat to all of us. That's how Esau worked. Now, what if you allow people to come over without identification? They can drive cars without licenses. And someone told them they are above the law and they can do whatever they want to do within the United States. Well, at any time when chaos ensues within the United States, they can now say all of these boogeyman groups are now working all at once in targeted areas where they've been targeting you. And when you get destroyed and your family get killed, they can claim that someone in your family was a part of one of these boogeyman groups they created out of thin air. You got it? Are you with me? So brothers and sisters, y'all have to think twice before y'all allow them in America to be able to demonize Israelites as terrorist groups. Because you don't realize they're not talking about Israelites on the corner. They know that we're the children of Israel. So anytime they get rid of our people, they're going to loosely try to attach them to Israelites, when really Israelites have always been their target. Don't allow them to do what they did over there. And because you don't like the fact that the Bible is calling you out when it comes to sin, and now you want to act like it's a group threatening your way of life because they're coming with something different, only trying to help you. Don't allow the enemy to use that, because at the end of the day, when your children are getting destroyed at a higher rate than what we see going on over there with the Palestinians, guess what? You're not going to be able to cry about it, because you have allowed it by siding with the enemy and allowing them to label the only truth that can come to you as cultish or anti-God. It was the prophets who warned the world before in old time. They were all Israelites, folks. It was Christ who warned us of the time to come, the end of days, like I'm going to break down today. These were Israelites warning people. So the enemy would eventually have all these boogeymans out there that they've created throughout their letter groups, only at the very end to try to put Israelites in that same vein to destroy, where they'll be looked at no different than Hamas and these other groups. I seen online the other day, and someone asked a guy, well, all of these people got destroyed. What is Hamas? Because these people were in Hamas. And the guy said, you can't make this up. Hamas has extended beyond an actual group. Hamas is an ideology. And we have to destroy the ideology. Oh, okay, so let me make this clear. They're not a part of Hamas. But if you kill them, you'll say they thought like Hamas, and that makes them Hamas? See, I listen to all of this, folks, because I understand at the end of the day, the same playbook is going to be used at the very end to come against us, and it's already here. Fair use. I need you all to hear what's about to pop off in Chicago. And please hit the like button before it all pops off, folks. I'm going to show you quantified how everything went over the Middle East and how it's playing on over here in the United States right now, and what our people are preparing to do to defend ourselves. Why? Because if you begin to choke any area of self-reliance and or survival out of a people, the people will have no choice but to show recourse for the sake of self-preservation. If you begin to put people out of their homes, choke out their existence, minimize the opportunity for them to actually make money for themselves and feed their families, and you slowly squeeze these people out of existence, the only choice is to defend yourself alive. And that's what they have done systematically for the last 4 years against our people. So then there's going to be a timeline. They're squeezing us so that there's no upward mobility, no opportunity to make finances that can help us out of poverty. They're cutting off the middle class, because the middle class sometimes frequent the high class and learn how to get their way out of the middle class. So they have to get rid of the middle class by squeezing the poor people to make it where the middle class isn't a possibility. And if you are middle class income, living single, you're in poverty. If they raise up all the prices, you could be middle class in your finances. You'll still just have enough to make it from week to week. They've made a world where there isn't two incomes in the home, and that was also strategic by splitting up man and woman, so that now you can't use your money together for upward mobility and legacy money for the next generation. And they can tax either side. Two people working separate, living week to week, not enough to save. Think about that. Paying two separate rents, two separate mortgages, and they get to tax two separate people who are at odds with each other. See that? So now that they've strategically have accomplished man and woman fighting against each other, now they're going for the kill. Fair use. This is for educational purposes only. Fair use. Listen to this, folks. And then we're going in. Fair use.
Well, a war is coming to the United States in months, not years. Former 24-year veteran of the Customs and Border Protection, J.J. Carroll, just uncovered the truth of what's happening with Biden's...
Let me cut up so y'all can hear it.
Well, a war is coming to the United States in months, not years. Former 24-year veteran of the Customs and Border Protection, J.J. Carroll, just uncovered the truth of what's happening with Biden's border invasion, and the war will start in black communities. That's where it's going to start first. Listen to J.J. in Chicago talking with black citizens who are being crushed right now under the weight of illegal immigrants in their communities. Watch.
This is America.
This is America.
There's a problem.
And the people have a problem with Trump. Are you crazy? Biden.
Biden did this. This is not Trump.
Exactly. The Democrat Party in this city hates poor black people. And I'm talking about all of the Democrat Party. The Black Caucus and everybody else. This is a fact. They have starved the people.
How do you know that? How do you know that?
Because I've been in politics for the last 25 years. Ran for city council twice. They have no intentions for American citizens, especially black America. Poor black people in this city are obsolete.
And JJ joins me now, fresh off of his trip. JJ, great to see you again. You know, you've obviously confronted some of the most unbelievable circumstances as it relates to the southern border in the United States, some of the most dangerous circumstances that you've faced with arrests. How does Chicago, far away from the southern border, how does Chicago stack up with what you're used to at the southern border?
Fair use.
Chicago's a war zone. And it is a forgotten, Trump called it the forgotten America, forgotten Americans. So the reason why I went to Chicago is I believe it's the ground zero of the invasion. This is the manifestation of treason. It's going to work from the coastlines in through the inner cities of major metropolitan areas. That gentleman that you showed, Mark Clayton, is an activist. Mark Carter, is an activist in Chicago. He took me down to the south side. I had to be escorted down there because of the gang violence and all the issues. But their local government has poured over $3 billion into their community for illegal aliens, not their community, but for illegal aliens. And they are being systematically pushed out of their communities like Inglewood. It is something I have never witnessed before. I feel like I'm traveled, I'm smart, I've been places. I'm telling you, when you go down to the south side, it is desolate, it is desperate, hopeless, violent. I would say 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 houses are dilapidated and shuttered. The other 4 need to be shuttered. Businesses are closed and shuttered. There's no industry. They are bringing illegal aliens majority from Venezuela, and they are moving them out of their communities. Let me give you an example. The city of Chicago paid black residents that were living in these dilapidated shacks, if you will, $1,000 to move out. Well, why would the landlords in Chicago want them to move out? $1,000. Because each illegal alien has $9,000 attached to them for rent assistance. $9,000. So they're moving them out and moving them in. Now, Clayton, I talked to mega church.
Fair use. So this is why landlords are trying to get people off of Section 8, and this is why many landlords aren't accepting Section 8 vouchers anymore. Why? Because they get $9,000 to move in an illegal. Someone who hasn't paid any taxes at all. Your taxpayers' money was used to bring these people in for what I'm about to talk about. So $9,000 in a capitalistic society, $9,000 compared to what you're getting in Section 8, they would rather find a way to get these people who are on Section 8 or low income out of these places because the money is good. So what of our people? Folks, come to find out, they have the same number of migrants that came in, equal to the amount of our people they're looking to get rid of.
Black pastors, street pastors, violent gang members that have come out of prison that are trying to reform their community, been in prison for murder for 21 years, another one murder for 26 years, and soup kitchen workers, everyone in between down on the south side of Chicago, black residents, black Americans. And they all say to me, to a man and woman, they say, we're going to war. And it took me back for a second, and I was like, okay, well, let's clarify what war is. And they said, whatever we have to do to maintain and protect our community. And a black pastor, the rooftop pastor, the AK rooftop pastor that Tucker Carlson interviewed for many, many months as he sat on top of a building during the winter months because of the prostitution crime that was across the street from his church, Pastor Brooks told me, we are within one black teenager being raped by these Venezuelan gangs or black Venezuelan gangs killing a black gang member or vice versa, and Chicago is going to explode. Explode. Everyone knows it, and isn't it coincidental, which I don't believe in coincidences, last week, DNC comes out and says, well, we're really kind of rethinking the Chicago DNC convention. We might do a remote. They know it as well as I do, that this is a powder keg ready to explode.
Yeah, can you hold the Democratic National Convention in Chicago? I mean, what do you have to show for it? I mean, as we talked about with Mark, with the activist, he says, you're seeing Democrats have destroyed this city, so you're going to bring the Democratic National Convention there? I mean, you're right. This is a.
Now, when you get a chance, fair use, you can go to Redacted. They have a lot of good information you can parse through there. Very good information. But all in all, what the gangster disciples have come together. All the gangs within Chicago who was once fighting one another have come together and say, listen, these people are urinating all on our stoops. They're crapping and all that in the schoolyard. Our children cannot play. They're looking at our young girls in the community. We're just waiting for one of our people to get harmed by these immigrants or these illegals they have let in this country, and the war will pop off. Now, why is this so deep? Well, this is the play of the enemy, the cunning hunter. I told you all a long time ago how they play it. They need an excuse to bring in the National Guard. So they're purposely, folks, instigating a powder keg that they have incentivized to blow against Jacob, against our people. Now, before we go into the scriptures, let me drop this piece here for you real quick. When it comes to things like this, well, check out how when Esau operates, he operates behind a boogeyman. Remember I told you all this? Well, if they can create a scenario to have provocateurs come in, then they can start what they'll label civil war. Because what was happening over in these other countries that we were hearing when it came to Libya, Iraq, we were being lied to. We were told that these were civil wars that the UN had to come in to resolve, when there weren't no civil wars. They were using the same people, mercenaries who look like the people, Arabs and all that, who were being paid to go from one country to the next to start insurrections, to start civil unrest. And they were publicizing that here in the United States as if these were the citizens of Iraq that were upset with their government or leaders or dictators who then needed regime change. They would do it from one place to the next when these weren't the citizens of those countries. These were people who were let in who looked like the people to start insurrection so that America and others in the Western world could report it as civil war. They're going to do the same here. That's what they're doing. We don't know who these people are. And for whatever boogeyman they want to create to make it look like it's civil, they have it now. They have white Ukrainians and all that who can be what? Who can be what? Mercenaries who now moved, and they can do a crime and they can blame that on what? The white right who are seeking to protect the United States and the Constitution. If they want an Israelite boogeyman, because there's no Israelites who are terrorists in America, folks. That doesn't exist. We're teaching the truth. But if they want to create a boogeyman, they can have the Africans that they let in who are mercenaries and dress them up with fringes on and mitres. And do something with a camera there and now claim that the Israelites did something. See, if they want to use South Americans, they got enough illegals who are South Americans to come in, who are probably part of cartels to cause civil unrest. And now that shows negative on our other brothers, the 10 tribes who are here in America, who've come here legally to work honestly. So they have enough boogeymans for every narrative to have America crumble. I'm putting this out there now, folks, because this is what the end of days look like. You cannot bring the whole world to its knees under an order when you have a country which is the beacon of freedom, ahead of all countries. And what they hate more so than anything is the fact that something was made out of chattel slavery that you cannot organically create. What our people went through going through slavery has created something else. The voice for the voiceless. And a symbol or sign of those who went from chattel slavery and now with the word of God proclaiming freedom to the Israelites throughout the four corners of the earth. What better people to proclaim freedom than those who went through chattel slavery and was at the base and bottom of all people on earth, and now have the what? Have the voice through the courage and spirit to speak truth as what? As a dead man rising from the grave. What else can you do to us? We went from the bottom. We were even rejected by our own people who sold us in Africa. And we survived like Lazarus rising from the grave. And the Most High created something out of us through those particular experiences that no one else on earth could possibly understand. We understand what it means to go from death to life. So what else can you do to us? Our own people left us for dead, and we survived. And we couldn't have done it on our own. We did it through the Spirit of the Almighty, and it developed something in us, a courage to say, listen, we're not to fear man. Fear God, who can destroy your body and spirit in hell, because we've been dead and have now been resurrected as the tribe of Judah. What else can you do to us? And because of our experience with the whole world watching since the time they threw us and discarded us away for nothing, let me tell you, folks, since the time they did that, the whole world been watching. They knew that our slavery was of biblical proportion, the curse of Deuteronomy 28. And they was watching. They seen us go through reformation. They seen Tulsa, Oklahoma bombed because Israelites were proclaiming to be Israelites, were building their own Wall Street there. Christian pastors were aligned with business owners. They seen us go through all that. They seen us go through the civil rights movement, the assassination of Malcolm X, the assassination of Martin Luther King. They seen it all. The resistance that came through this, and now they're saying, you know what? To add insult to injury, not only did these people rise from the dead, not only are they proclaiming to be Israelites, they are Israelites. And the voice that's speaking through them is a voice from heaven. Christ is telling the world through these people, you're living in the end of time. Jacob comes next. The end of their time. So what are they doing against Jacob? They're throwing everything at Jacob at once. Everything you can name is being thrown at Jacob. But only the faithful and those who believe can survive this. Right? Yes, sir.
We're just reporting.
Yeah.
We
ain't
got nothing. We ain't got nothing to do with the immigrants and all that. So
exactly.
Young people
and I'm glad you're saying that, because just like the prophets and teachers of old, we're just reporting it. We have nothing to do with these immigrants. We have nothing to do with groups that would threaten other people. Folks, we're just reporting the narrative that mainstream refused to talk about. The prophetic angle. But I'm giving you the insight of how the enemy worked on a low level so that you don't get caught up in these little stories that come out of it, knowing who's actually pulling the strings. Mm-hmm. So when you see people going out there and they're marching, and guess what? Have a right to, because these migrants are going to be doing all types of stuff, harming them and all that. You go out there, you will get destroyed in the wake because you will be labeled as that shadow group they've created. Even if you're right, you go out there and become one of these people who say, man, y'all doing all this to our people, and you're out there with all of them, you are now part of the group. They're going to report it as this group is growing. This resistance group amongst the black people are growing. Something they'll create. So what you're to do is to step out of it and say, you know what? Elder Ricard Shiar, the Gathering of Christ Church, Elder Lawyer and others, they told us about this. Let me listen. Even though I'm upset, let me sit back before responding emotionally. See, they usually get you on the trigger point to get you to harm yourself. And they did that during the so-called code a few years ago. Mm-hmm. They'll usually trigger you into an emotion where you'll do a reaction. No. when it happened, do not go out amongst them. Sit back. Watch it. That's how the angels are doing this. The angels are looking at it. The heavenly view is checking it out. And if Satan baits you into the cloud of smoke, you may lose your life in it and be labeled. So we're Chester reporters here. This is how they're going to take down America. This is why America is presented as so weak. This is why they allow, give me that. You see that? Get that if you can. This is why they've allowed a weak representation as leadership over the country, so that the whole United States would be crying for who? A renegade. An American cowboy. See? And this is where Trump comes in at. To say, well, listen, I'll come in and bring order. See? That's how they're going to do it. But the order that he brings will not just destroy the people that they sent over as provocateurs. When they come in, all of these people who are paid to come into the country will take shelter, and then they'll attack their targeted people who were targeted the whole time. Us. So they'll bring in the cowboy later. The old sheriff to bring order later. But they need this toxic scenario with the so-called illegals. These are mercenaries. And even the families that are coming over honestly to get an opportunity, they are going to be used as collateral damage. Because all mixed up within these people that are coming over are provocateurs. And this summer is going to be a doozy. Watch what I tell you. Elder Lawyer, if you will.
Yes, sir.
Let's now start off. Hit the like button, brothers and sisters. There's a few more things I want to show you and I'm going to talk about. Do not get pulled into all of these scenarios. Right now, you hear them talking about Palestinians, and what's going on in Palestine. That political talking point, don't even get involved in that. That have nothing to do with you. Okay? Because what they planning to do against our people in the inner cities will make what's going on with the Palestinians, it's gonna make that look like a walk in the park. I'm telling you. It's about us saving ourselves alive at this point. That's what it's about. It's none of our business what they're dealing with over there. When they're putting our sisters out on the street. You got this administration jacking up the prices, knowing that our people can't even feed themselves. And now you got other people, there's certain stores that will refuse to take EBT. And that's all the food some of our people have. So now they're going to isolate you where you can only use EBT for the same food that's killing you. Some of our people smarted up. We was like, well, okay. I'm not going to shop in the neighborhood where they're giving us alleged poison food, rat food. We've been taking our EBT and going on the outskirts of the inner city, in the suburbs, where they got organic foods and you can see the water dripping off of the organic lettuce and all that. And like, man, am I in a Garden of Eden? You walk through one of their produce sections and you think you're in a Garden of Eden. Our people, sometimes we get it late, but I'll tell you, we've been up on game and say, listen, this EBT can go better someplace else. And we've been going to getting fresh organic food coming right back, even if we have to drive 40 minutes. Now, when you go into these areas, they'll say, no, we don't accept that no more. Eat that food, you'll love it and die. So you know we have to come with solutions, right? And I'm going to go deal with some solutions today. But also, this week we're dealing with the evil in Mecca. Next week we're going to be dealing with what? Surviving Jacob's trouble. We're going to go through all of the prophets and all of that to show you in crisis how they were able to deal with it from a what? A worldly standpoint with resources, and a spiritual standpoint, having faith to know how to accumulate the resources and how to utilize those resources through the crisis. We look at how our forefathers survived and understand that they'll give you a certain amount of time to accumulate resources before it's cut off. And I'm telling you, folks, we're in that time. What I'll say now is we got about 2.5 to 3 years to get all the resources we'll need. They're going to have to carry us the rest of the way before it's all cut off. So now we have to understand, okay, how do we plan? With the resources we have, how do we make that stretch? How did our forefathers do so? Maybe we're going to have to do what some of these other people who have now leapfrogged us do. Sometimes these other nations come together in one house and they share a house together because they can get along to save resources. But our people can't do that. We can't live in the same house with our family without it becoming what? A powder keg. Maybe we have to pull together and not try to keep up with the Joneses to survive through this. Maybe we need to find out that the food we're eating has seeds in it, so that if there's certain foods we want, we got getting it from our garden. So all of that and more, I'll go into the next Hebrew and Bible Academy, week 7. Week 7 is going to be the one. Surviving Jacob's trouble. It's going to be a very informative breakdown on how the prophets got through crisis and all of that. Like I said, the theme of this academy will be making it through Jacob's trouble. Surviving Jacob's trouble will be week 7. We'll go into what Abraham went through, Isaac, Jacob, us in Egypt, even how Christ actually put together with the disciples how to come together at the end time. You see people where it says all things common? That will happen. But we're not supposed to be doing all things common now. That's survival mode. That's when everything breaks down and then everything is pulled together to get all of us through. You're not supposed to be doing all things common right now. You know why? Because you can have a tyrant at the head of it now, and he'll just be grabbing everything for himself, squeezing out the men.
That's right.
Sunning the men amongst them. I need y'all to think about that. If a woman, think about this. If a woman see her husband who worked for the legacy of their family give all their money to one man who owned things, who do you think she's going to want? Mm-hmm. You think she's going to want you or the man you giving her money to? Your money is supposed to be for the legacy of your family. A just weight for a just measure. And if your family work together, the last thing, what simple man going to sit there with the money that he've accumulated for his family and give everything to one man who's talking about, yeah, let's live on the land? Your woman is, look, you've been sunned. Mm-hmm. And you can't use the scriptures for that, because all things common comes down when everything breaks down and there is no resources. That's when you pull and distribute amongst the saints.
Not to mention, that's the perfect imagery to develop a narrative of a cult.
That's a cult. Yeah, go ahead, Elder.
No, that's the point. I mean, if you're talking about trying to be under the radar and to avoid these various narratives, which is why we put certain things in place to try to establish something like that, you're walking into the narrative of what one would consider to be a cult.
Yeah, and when we seen people doing this a long time ago, I said it among the elders, I say it out. The last thing you want is all things common, and because only thing you need, here it is. The only thing you need is for one person to get offended for all the dominoes to drop.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
That's it. Because you're going to have people who's going to figure out that, listen, I want to leave here. I'm not satisfied. Mm-hmm. And then the first thing they're going to say is, where's my money? Well, what money? Look at all of this is your money. What money? You agreed to come on my compound. And now you're leaving broke with rabbit ears, mad at the man that it convinced your man to give your money to him. Don't try to use Peter and the disciples for that. Because we're living in a society where you can earn. When things break down, then it's all things common. Well, what we got, because there's nothing left.
Exactly.
There's nothing left. Now it's all things common. I wish somebody would say you set up something and tell people, hey, give all your money to me. Who would even think that? Sell everything you got and give it to one man. That's utterly crazy. Because at the end of the day, it's only one man that's going to benefit from that. And the woman is looking at him like, man, this guy must be the guy. If my husband can give the legacy in the future to this guy, why am I with him? And there's a pattern that goes with it. Mm-hmm. Once people start looking, let me tell you, a woman cannot respect a man who's going to be sunned by another man. And then you groveling all up under that man every time you looking, and you're groveling up, and your woman is looking. Like, okay, you flex with me. But you're acting like a little son to this man? He's like, listen, next thing you know, that man with all of your cash is now winking at your woman. Like, yeah, you know, there's only can be one of me, so.
Right.
There's only can be one of me, but I can have many of you. I just got to figure out what these rules are that I can circumvent so that she could be next to me. Let me tell you, if a man can use scriptures to deceive someone into giving all they earn to them, they can manipulate any scripture out there to justify their actions. That's utterly ridiculous. All things common is when everything breaks down. And guess what? When all things common happens, whoever has the most, give everything first. Mm-hmm. The greatest among you shall be your servant. Now let's go in, other way. Jeremiah 30. Let's do it.
Yes, sir. Jeremiah 30, verse number 5.
Let's go. Hold on.
In fact, I started 4.
Hold on, let me grab it here. All right, Elder Lawyer, you got it.
Yes, sir. Jeremiah 30 and 4.
Yes.
And these are the words that the Lord spake concerning Israel and concerning Judah. For thus saith the Lord, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. Ask ye now, and see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness.
So it says, for thus saith the Lord, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. So here's the prophets talking about our people coming into these troubles at the end of time, where it seems as if there's a conspiracy to press us to the degree in which we no longer exist. And folks, no matter, listen to me and listen to me clear. If you haven't heard anything today, whatever they come out with at the end of it will suffer more than any other people. Anything, you will know at the end of it who was the intended target from the beginning. Even when it came to the jab and all that, look how it affected our people. So understand, whatever they put out there, it's an indirect, they'll do misdirection, but their aim is to circle around to destroy us because we're the target the whole time, Jacob. That's why it says in the 5th verse, for thus saith the Lord, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. That's what's going on in Chicago and in the inner cities right now. Come on.
Ask ye now, and see whether a man doth travail with child.
Come on.
Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness.
And all faces are turned into paleness. The Most High is seeing men so destitute and destroyed. They're like a woman. A woman in the last few minutes, folks, of delivering a child. Now, I've never felt that pain. I've heard about it. But that's an anomaly if the Bible prophetically is showing a man that's sitting there holding his loins like a woman trying to deliver a child screaming. So what's going on geopolitically in the earth that would cause a man to go through such pain? It's what? Read the 7th verse.
Verse 7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it.
Now that day has a label, and we have to take on what's going on prophetically with a label. What is it called? It's called what?
It is even the time of Jacob's trouble.
It is a time of Jacob's trouble. So it has a label. Why? Because a woman's pain becomes more frequent, leading to the delivery of that child. So as we come closer to Israel getting delivered, the more pains our people will experience. And there's a label for it, Jacob, so that we'll understand, regardless of the misdirection or the boogeyman they create, behind all of their narratives, it's really a direct attack against Jacob. So understand that, so you'll understand, okay, they're coming out with this that seems like it has nothing to do with us. Even if they say they're going after the right-wing white constitutionalists, they're really coming against us.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever they put out there, they're never going to say they want to attack us. So they'll put it out in a different narrative so that we can accept it or politically agree to it because it doesn't really affect us. Whatever they say they're doing, understand the Bible labels it Jacob's trouble. So they'll politically hide behind anything while attacking us. Okay? They'd be like, well, oh yeah, there was a breakout of polio in a place where none of our grandmother and grandfather ever knew anything about that. I asked my grandmother, she's like, no, we down south, it nothing happened to us down there. We read about that in Reader's Digest, right? So check it out. They'll come with one thing that have nothing to do with you, that your family didn't experience, but then we'll say, well, listen, in order for you to go to school, your children to go to school, we have to keep them safe, so they got to get that. See? So indirectly, they use something that had nothing to do with us, but now it affects the targeted group. So no matter what they put out there, understand the label and how important to know it's Jacob's trouble. And they'll never tell Jacob directly, yeah, we're trying to get rid of you. They'll never tell you. They'll trick you. But here's the label. In the end times, we're living in Jacob's trouble. That's what the Most High called the time we're living in before the deliverance. This is Jacob's trouble. Come on.
But he shall be saved out of it.
But what?
But he shall be saved out of it.
But he shall be saved out of it. Now, not all, a remnant. Now, how can Jacob be saved, folks? If Jacob fell to admit he's Jacob. right? If you are a Muslim and you're told that, you know, all things are relative and we're all the same, how do you know? How can you defend yourself against those who attacked the Israelites in the past? If you don't own up to who you are according to the Bible. Man, I'm not Jacob. Well, okay. Well, suppose Jacob is getting attacked and you're claiming you're not Jacob. You think they're not going to attack you simply because you're not accepting it? So the first point of protection is acceptance. We as a people must accept we're Jacob. Worst case scenario, you'll protect yourself. Right? Best case scenario, you'll actually go into the Bible and realize how Jacob and the Israelites were how they were able to maneuver against their enemies. See? One moment here.
Yes, sir.
One moment. Excuse me, folks, there was some noise. Excuse me, folks, there was some noise out there. I had to close the window. So, the worst case scenario, right? Well, the best case scenario is that you know you're Jacob. Now you can go into the Bible and see how we were able to maneuver around these Egyptians, the Edomites, the Canaanites, and all these other people who've always came against us. Or you can be in these religions and have them and have them trick you into believing that we're all the same and we're all under Jesus and there's no difference. When your observable reality tells you that there's a difference. All Christians aren't treated the same. Okay? You can be a Christian in the black neighborhood. You're not treated like a Christian in a white neighborhood. But you'll tell me, well, I'm a Christian and there's really no difference. There is a difference. There's even division amongst Christians on racial lines. See that? So don't come in with that garbage doctrine where it doesn't matter, we're all one under God. That's garbage. There's always been a war against Jacob. And that ambiguity have led to naivety amongst our people where the enemies can destroy us through these satanic religions. We're not being attacked strictly because we believe in Christ. We're also being attacked because we are the children of Israel. And the Bible states at the very end, we would be what? Under Jacob's trouble. Jacob's name was turned to Israel. So these religions have always been what? Trojan horses to find out how we thinking. What are we doing? What are we planning? And that's why they don't like the fact. That's why they don't like those who come out of these controlled religions and come under something like we're dealing with here. Because why? They're not inside to be able to do anything. If they were inside, there'll be nothing for them to do. Because we're just here serving the Almighty, teaching the truth. So what are they going to do? They're going to create their own group, like ISIS and Al-Qaeda, and put trees on them and fringes on them and say it's something, and they're going to say that they did something. That's the only way they'll be able to justify that narrative to come against Israelites. Watch what I'm telling you. Right? Elder Lawyer, if you will, let's go to Matthew 24, the end of days. Matthew 24, let's start at the first verse. We're going to go all the way through this.
Yes, sir. Matthew 24:1.
Come on.
And Yeshua went out and departed from the temple And his disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the temple. And Yeshua said unto them, See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down.
That's Jerusalem, folks. That's our temple. He says, see these things? There shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. What was he telling the disciples? They're coming to destroy our home. Look around. Look how great Israel is. They're coming to destroy our home. Now, something like that was totally out of the realm of possibility for our people at that time. The temple survived many empires. And when it fell under the Greeks, guess what, folks? When it fell, it was, even before the Greeks, when it fell, it was restored. When the Babylonians destroyed it, it was restored by the Persians. That means the construct was still there. Even when it was desecrated amongst the Grecians during the time of the Grecians, and commemorated and restored under the Maccabees, the construct was still there. Okay, even though they did evil things, the Grecians, in that area, the construct of our temple was still there. It went through all these empires up until the time of Christ, and guess what? It was well beyond the realm of possibility. Our people never thought that this construct would no longer exist on earth, because it went through all it went through the test of time. It went through every empire up until the present, and now Christ is saying, look at this place. It's going to totally crumble. None of our people would believe this. The great temple of Israel, the construct, the tabernacle given to Moses, made into stone during the time of Solomon. No temple for God's people. And now that there's no temple, God's people would get scattered amongst these Gentiles and learn within these pagan, satanic, child sacrificing constructs. Because our temple is gone. We didn't go to none of their temples, their place of worship, whether you be an Arab, whether you be an Asian, whether you be white. Our people didn't frequent none of their temples. Okay? We had our own place to come to our own belief system. But now that our temple had been destroyed, now all of the other Gentile temples have taken precedent. And we're searching around for our original temple and our true worship, only to fall into one of theirs. And all of these pagan temples have Satan at its helm. So I can imagine what the disciples are thinking right here. I can only imagine what the disciples are thinking. You mean to tell me this great construct, which have stood the test of time, will no longer be amongst men? What are you saying, Christ? He said, look at this. Look how great this is. All of the priests, even of the Gentiles, would come and visit the temple. It was God's construct on earth. Even the Gentile priests and imams and all or what you would call the Chaldeans and their wise men, was at awe of our temple. Okay? They was at awe. This is God's construct. Right? Check this out.
Verse 3. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, The disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world?
What shall be the sign of thy coming and the end of the world? Now we know that it's not speaking of the end of earth. It's speaking of the end of Esau's world. It tells us in 2 Ezra 6, 8, and 9, Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Well, if Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob's time is nigh or near, now, brothers and sisters, you can now understand prophetically why we're in Jacob's trouble. Esau is seeking to hold on to this world. And Jacob is the threat to his rulership beyond the time prophetically given him. See, he only have a certain amount of time. What is that time according to the scriptures? That time is a time, times, and a dividing of times. What is that? From Christ's birth up unto his return. That began, Christ's birth was the beginning of the end for Satan's world. Hence the reason they wanted the child dead. Hence the reason they tried to assassinate Christ at birth. Because his birth marks a time in prophecy counting down what? On the end of the Esau's world, the Roman world. And don't get confused, folks. It's not just speaking of the Roman Vatican. Them and the Jewish people who are under the religion of Jewish are the same people. How do you know this? Well, unless one has one of those yarmulkes or something on their head, you wouldn't know the difference between the two. They're the same people. It doesn't change who you are strictly based on what religion you're following. If they were to dress up a certain type of way and told nobody who they were, we wouldn't know the difference between the two of them. They're the same. And guess what? That's not my opinion. It's in also the Jewish Encyclopedia, where it talks about the conversion of the Idumeans during the time of Hyrcanus in the 3rd century. See? It talks about a conversion of Edomites who converted to Judaism during the Maccabean period. They're the same people as the Romans. So just because you converted to a religion doesn't change who you are. And this is why on either side of those religions, the attack is on Jacob, the bloodline of the children of Israel. Let's make this clear. And the end of the world, the end of who? The end of Esau's world. That's why Esau is throwing everything against the wall against Jacob. They're saying, well, listen, no longer can we play this game as if we're friends, as if we are common folk. We can't play these games no more. Gloves off. Let's throw them out of their houses. Let's squeeze them out financially. And anyone with any financial generational money, we have to make sure we get rid of anybody in their position, in the position of our government, who can give the generational wealth that they've acquired amongst us to their people. So anybody with money, we're going to throw them all down with the poor. That's why they're coming after P. Diddy. They don't care about P. Diddy dragging somebody. P. Diddy have witnessed much worse amongst them. Where do you think he learned it from? They don't care about Jay-Z. They don't care about Beyonce. It's just a matter of time before they take them down, because these people have generational wealth that can help us. Okay? That's what it comes down to. It's about resources. They're looking at all the people who would have resources to help us in this time, and they're taking them down. It's about resources with them. They don't care about whether or not someone had a domestic dispute against somebody. You think they care about that? They're looking at the money. They're saying, you know what? We're about to starve Jacob out. Who has the financial fortitude to help their people in a time of trouble? So we have to cut off that business, and we have to cut off people who have enough money for generational wealth to help their people. Period. If they don't find something on you, they'll make it up. Okay? They'll make it up. Like here it is. Kyrie Irving was an example. A model citizen. He was known for doing nothing but right towards people. Good man. Family man. And they come against him and almost try to, cut him off financially going forward. Taking away his right to earn is what they tried. Simply because he made a post on Twitter. So if they don't have anything on you, they'll find something because you don't agree with them. They'll use that as a talking point to destroy you financially. Why? I'm going to show you why. Because their game plan at this point is to cut off resources. What did they do when they went into Libya and all of these other countries to take down dictators? They began to sanction them. And remember when Gaddafi didn't have any access to his bank accounts? So you squeeze them financially first. That's a tactic in war, to isolate the one you're targeting from being able to move around. That's why I'm telling you, they play us every time by us listening to this crap they have through their media, and you don't understand what they're targeting. Right. And what they're doing. You don't understand that they could care less about the actions of these people. When it comes to P. Diddy, they don't care about that. They don't care about that. They care about the resources that can be utilized to help his people. Same thing with Michael Jackson and all that. They care about the resources. Whitney Houston, they cared about the resources. Who is this money going to go to? Oh, the daughter? Well, we got to get her to sign a few things, and then we'll just make it magically disappear where all the money comes back to us. And guess what? Whitney Houston's daughter, may the Lord rest her soul, had to go too. Because they don't want us to have anything to help our people at the very end. It's a part of Jacob's trouble. It's all about them cutting off the resources, knowing where we're going. So gloves are off right now. It's about what? Resource allocation at every election year. Who's going to have control over the coffers, over the finances for this community? And how do we make it where we don't have to give it to them no more, and we give it to the enemies who we've surrounded round about them to utterly crush them? Let's do it, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir. Verse 4.
And Yeshaya, come on.
And Yeshaya answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you.
Now, when the disciples asked Christ, when shall this happen? What are the signs for your coming? The first thing that came out of Christ's mouth is, take heed that no man deceive you. See? So Christ was telling us right from the rip, don't trust these people who are coming to destroy Jerusalem. The deceivers are coming. They're tricksters. They're hunters. Take heed that no man deceive you, above all in context, concerning how I'll return. And when I'll return. So the deception is somebody going to come in and redirect you concerning doctrine. So the first place we have to look for the deception is amongst Esau, the Romans, because they're the ones who would come and destroy the temple. See? So these are the last people we would trust to teach us doctrine concerning our people and above all, our Savior. How can the people who destroyed the disciples, the blood of the apostles, are on the hands of the Romans, who was imprisoning our people? How can they become the authority on Christ's doctrine? You got to be out of your mind. How can a Roman Catholic church or a Roman Catholic come to me and tell me about Christ or Jesus when you killed the prophets? You killed apostles. They were running from you. So you're not to trust Jesuits. You're not to trust apologetics. They're the same people. Christ told us not to trust them. And they're all up in our mix. We're not even worried about what they're doing. And you notice they're always trying to, urban apology. No, go about your people and teach the good word of Jesus to them. Now you understand, folks, why they're always pressing upon us and in our mix all the time. Because they're the same people who destroyed us in the past. They're the deceivers who must come amongst us and cause divide and conquer. That's how they do it. They'll get next to somebody. You got something negative that you want to say about the group you were about? The group you were in? Hold up. What group you were with? We'll give you a camera and a microphone if you come and say something negative about them. Right? All the good that people celebrate when it comes to getting this truth. And I get letters, folks, I get messages all the time how this ministry through the Spirit of Christ have saved people's lives. And I'm sure that's just not isolated amongst this church. I'm sure other groups out there, I don't vouch for their doctrine, but I'm sure there's a lot of good stuff that can be reported concerning how people left gangs. They started eating better. They started living their life better according to God. There's many good things that should be reported about the awakening of Israelites, that they will never publicize through apologetics and others. They'll never say anything good. They're only trying to bring people in who has an axe to grind. Now, who want to surround themselves around a people who just want to hear something negative against everyone all the time and not think that this guy or these people are evil and negative? Think about that, folks. And I had to check that out. Why is it when they talk about Israelites, they try to find a member or somebody who was amongst them who have something negative to say? Only a negative, evil person could consume that much negative. I don't like to hear that much negative because it will affect my spirit. Only a negative person, or what? You got it. A chatty patty with demons on them would actually just try to look for people to say something negative against another person. Vultures. And Yeshua said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. Read.
Take heed that no man deceive you. Verse 5. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ.
Many shall come in my name, Christians. So Christ was saying, don't trust those Christians, because these aren't the Christians that came from me. These are pagans who will cloak themselves as lambs, but really they're wolves. See? They'll cloak themselves with the lamb, but they're wolves. Saying, I am Christ, and what?
And shall deceive many.
And shall deceive many. Read.
If I can say this real quick, not to go back.
Yeah, go
Just
ahead.
to make this quick point while it's still out there.
Okay, go ahead.
It'll be those same individuals who have these platforms, who once they create these fake Israelite terrorist groups, they'll be the ones coming forward and being called for the interviews, being called for the documentaries, saying that I saw this coming, I saw this transformation, I heard the rhetoric, I heard the hatred, and I saw where this was going. Now realizing that it's a fake, it'll be a fake thing that they created anyway.
I'm glad you put that out there, because they have their agents do what? Start compiling a video dossier that would lead up to them now becoming the experts to speak when they actually do a false flag using an Israelite. Mm-hmm. Well, I hate to say it, we've seen this coming on, and you know, and next you know, you'll have this satanic Mark Reeser who's Jewish. His name is Mark Reeser, who's Jewish, but they will say, vocab, man, you've been the utmost expert in front of this for years. Oh, like you were when it came to Al-Qaeda and the other false flag that they used him as a preacher to state that he was a friend with someone who was in Al-Qaeda in Arizona. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because he's a so-called Christian, right? But think about it. They build a video dossier, and then they'll have them come as the utmost expert who've been following and tracking the Israelites. Southern Poverty Law Center. And we have Vocab Malone and all these others who've always come. They've been watching this and feared that something like this would happen. That's how they're going to have it. These are agents, folks. And it's exactly what Christ is saying here. For many shall come in my name saying, I am Christ. The greatest deceivers are at the head of these Christian churches, led by the Vatican. I am Christ and shall deceive many. Why? Because they're going to use Christ. When any true Christian, you were supposed to try the Spirit. You were supposed to filter them through Christ's doctrine to know whether or not they were the deceivers. See? You were supposed to watch your church and say, okay, what are they doing that have nothing to do with Christ? And if they're not Christ, what are they? Deceivers, Antichrist, worshiping on Sunday, celebrating Christmas, celebrating Easter, which is all Babylonian, breaking God's law, teaching people that you're supposed to break God's law and stay under grace when you know there's a judgment for breaking God's law. See? They're the deceivers. Read the 7th verse.
Verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation.
Race against race. Now check it out. Christ says this is how it's going to go down. Now notice they're moving people into our communities, like I showed those in the beginning of this video. I mean, the beginning of this broadcast, this lesson. How now they're moving in other ethnicities and other races against our people in the inner cities, knowing that it's going to create racial tensions, clashes of culture. Then they're going to take all the money that our people seeded in this country through our own blood, sweat, and tears, and understand that everything our people get in this particular country isn't an entitlement, folks. We bled in every war America have ever fought. And they're going to take all the finances from the blood, sweat, and tears from our people and give it to strangers who are incentivized to kill us in these communities. And that's nation rising against another nation. A race war that the Gentiles, that Esau is incentivizing right now. He'll play the gay agenda against us. Next thing you know, they transition in our children.
Right.
See? Next thing you know, they're castrating our sons. Then they'll play the immigrant crisis, as they call it, against us, knowing that these people are being told they're coming in to replace us. And they can do whatever they want to do because there's certain crimes that the police can no longer report or even do anything about. Why do you think they did that? Folks, they are allowing a total rendition within our inner city. That's what they're doing. They had a movie out on that Elder Iraq years ago, where there was no law, and then for a time they just allow all anarchy out there. What's the name of that movie? The purge. That's what it is. It's the purge, folks.
Right.
They're being told, they're coming in being told, y'all can do whatever y'all want. As long, this is what y'all can take, and these are the people you can harm, because we got to get them out of there. And the more you get them out, the more you and your family can have a place to stay. The more you can destroy them, that gives you more room for your family who can come in after you. That's a purge, folks. We're going to take all of our programs, our Medicaid, we're going to take our finances, and we're going to give it to you. You're living in all that. We're going to take it from them and give it to you. And therefore, giving it to all these people who never worked, it depletes what? It depletes all the retirement money, all the Social Security money. If you bring in strangers and you give them the money, it depletes the treasury. So now they have a built-in excuse of there's nothing for you, because they got all these people who came in and took what our forefathers seeded in this country.
Right.
Because Esau is not going to allow them to come in and take anything from them. Understand that. They're here to take what they're concentrating on our people, chattel slavery, who actually seeded the wealth of this country. And they're saying, well, their wealth, you can take anything you want from them, because we need to what? We need to run them dry before coming after them. We must deplete them financially before coming after them. That's nation against nation, race against race. Read.
For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places.
And we're hearing all that now. They got some bees running around that's just destroying everything in its wake. Earthquakes all over the place. In different places, you'll be hearing of earthquakes. A lot of that is because they're fracking underground, causing issues. And folks, I'll tell you, when the great earthquake comes, there's going to be a meltdown of all the power plants within the United States. And that's when it really is on. Read.
Verse 8. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you.
Now this comes from what? This is going to come from people betraying one another, being offended with one another, giving each other up, not realizing that when you give your own people up, after you give them up, they're going to take you out. You think they're going to trust a traitor amongst them? You think you're doing them a solid by giving someone up, and they're looking at you like, well, if you'll give your own people up, why should I trust you? Get rid of him too. Get rid of her too. That means we're coming in a time where brothers and sisters have to learn how to control their emotions and control their mouths, because the outcome is not going to be what you think. You think, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Surely Master is going to spare me. All right. I came and I told him where all of them were. Surely Master is going to look out for me. They're like, nah. I'll tell you what, I need you to look over them while they're being buried. And you were sitting there with the shovel, and you sitting there smiling, and you turn around and Master say, well, is everybody buried? Is everybody covered? Yes, Master. Okay, give me that shovel real quick. Yes, Master. Bing! And now you get up in there and they throwing dirt over you. That's how it goes. Yes, Master. There's no proof of anything anywhere over here, Master. Okay, Thomas. Let me see the shovel real quick. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Master. Bing! That's how it goes. How can they trust someone who would betray their own? See? They'll only use you to destroy your own people. These are the times we're coming in on. Right? Right? You have something?
No, the Purge movie.
The Purge movie.
The very first Purge, it was in our communities, and they went to some brothers on the side and had them go and start taking people out.
Yeah.
And remember the one he had the jab. That was his thing. He'd go around
Jabbing people. But then at the end, after they get out enough, get rid of enough of their targeted demographic, you sitting around thinking you're safe. But like, no, listen. If you are a threat to all of us, if you would do this to your own.
Right.
Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted and shall kill you. Read.
And ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake.
Now, how do you know this isn't talking about Christians here and those who believe in Christ? Because Christians aren't hated by everyone in the world. See? It's speaking of the true believers, God's people. It says right here, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. These are the children of Israel who are in Christ. For standing in Christ, your family and others can't stand you because you are speaking to the evil in them, hoping that they will repent. Well, guess what? They don't see it that way. And when the time comes, they're going to be the people giving you up. And these are people who are dying in the name of Christ. You're trying to help people, and now your same family members are saying, the government's going to say, are you looking for this person? You'd be the family member saying, hold up, is there a reward y'all giving for this? Is there a cash package I can get for? I mean, my cousin is laying on the couch. Is that the guy you're looking for? Mm-hmm. What's the bounty for him? Our people, man. He threw that pack of bacon away last week. Mm-hmm. He threw my pork away. You know? 10, let's do it.
Verse 10. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another.
And we're living in that time now where that politically correctness time, where everyone has a problem with correction. You can't say anything true to help a person without you hurting them at the core. And even if you try to talk to a person and help a person to show what they're doing wrong, they'll use that conversation to pull an offense out of that. So you can't even talk to people, to get on the same page with them, because when you speak with them, when they got an evil spirit in them, everything you say to them can become an offense. That's the world of politically correctness we live in today. Well, you can tell me the truth, but I don't like how you're telling me. I don't like how you're conveying it. Now think about that. It's the truth, but you could have told me differently. When you should appreciate the truth, regardless of what you're feeling. That's the world we're living in today now. And then you get down to the conversation and say, well, what I said was true, correct? Well, yeah. Well, why are you feeling a certain type of way? And what they don't want to admit is, because you see what I thought was concealed. The demon. I knew it was here, but the fact that you can see it is the problem. Now check that out. You see what I thought no one could see. I know my hang-ups. I know that this thing has always been operating in me, but I feel a certain type of way now because I concealed it for so long. I thought that no one could actually point it out. And now that you point it out, here I am. Here's the spirit you pointed out, and I'm coming after you. That's why they don't want to accept the truth, even when it's the truth. Because they will have a choice to make. They would have to get rid of the demon or allow the demon to what? Be their representative now that they can no longer conceal, and allow that demon to cut loose to fight against you now. Either get rid of it, or they can say, well, okay, you see me now, let's go. That's how it works, folks. So, because when you tell someone the truth and you're sitting there looking at them and they admitted the truth, but they're still angry, they're still finding something to be right with, folks, you up against a serious demon. Because a righteous person would just look at you and say, you know what? I'm sorry. I got to fix this. It is true. I have to change. That's when you know the spirit in that person, it has overcome that demon that have always used them to fight through as a host. And then shall many be offended over nothing at all, folks. We're going to be giving up our people for nothing. Folks, we're going to be giving up our people for a hot meal. Just for a hot meal that night, we're going to be giving up our own people. Watch. And many shall be offended and shall betray one another. Read.
And shall hate one another.
And shall hate one another. Read.
Verse 11. And many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many.
And many false prophets shall arise and shall deceive many. Now, as Christ go down, he's going to emphasize how to identify false prophet. Okay? Because a lot of people look at T.D. Jakes and these others. It ain't talking about the line of that. These guys are just wolves in sheep's clothing. Jeremiah 23 breaks them down. Evil leaders of the people. But false prophets, Christ's going to go into it in detail within Matthew 24. Because it's really what? When shall be the end of the world and the signs of thy coming? So concerning Christ's coming, you'll have false prophets in context of what we're talking about here. The signs leading to Christ's coming. See that? So when it's talking about false prophets, it's talking about people giving you false information concerning his return. See? Like your Jesuits, who claim that there will be a rapture where Christ's going to return, pick the church up, disappear for 7 years while an antichrist is on the scene, only to come back 7 years later from the time that people disappeared. That's a false prophet that come directly from the Jesuits' doctrine. There will be no picking people up and coming back later. Okay? That don't exist. There's only the second coming of Christ. Not him coming to grab some people and saying, I'm checking out for another 7 years for an antichrist that can come on the earth and mess with y'all until I get back. That's a false prophet. There will be no rapture. That's a lie. Now we'll be caught up for those who remain, but that's upon the last trump, the coming of Christ. And even when that happens, when he catch up those who are in him, that's to join his army on the way back to earth, so that they can reign on the earth. So even they're not going to be floated up into a cloud for 7 years. They're coming right back. So the great caught up, and that's what it is when Christ returns. There is no rapture. And any preacher that's teaching that doctrine from the Jesuits is an antichrist, false prophet. Okay? 12.
Verse 12. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold.
Because sin is at its height, the love of many shall wax cold. Why? The more we allow sin to happen in the earth, the more offenses ensue. Right? So now people are not going to know who to trust or what to trust. So people are going to hate one another. It doesn't matter if you're a family member, just the world in general will be, every individual will be against every other individual. No love, even for your own family. 13.
13. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved.
But he shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. Read.
And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come.
And folks, this is how you know that the Catholic Church that have set up many harlots under her isn't Christ's church. Because they've been everywhere conquering and colonizing, but yet Christ haven't returned yet. You can find the Catholic Church everywhere. So that's how you know that wasn't the gospel of truth. And what they're teaching in our neighborhoods and our communities isn't the gospel of truth. This gospel, Christ is saying, the gospel that I have taught the disciples, that I've brought in the world. This gospel of all the kingdom shall be preached into all nations, into the world, for a witness unto all races of people, and then the end shall come. Gospel means what? Good news. So what gospel was Christ talking about that the world must hear first before the return? The world have heard everything else. So what in particular is the gospel that must be heard by all people before Christ returns? It isn't in the Catholic Church. Let's real quick precept, and we're going to show you what must be taught to the whole world before Christ returns. Elder Lawyer, if you will, staying in Matthew. Matthew 10, 5, and 6.
St. Matthew 10 and 5.
Yes.
These 12 Yeshua sent forth and commanded them, saying, Go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not.
Read.
But go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
But go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. That's the good news, folks. Gospel means good news. This truth must be taught, identifying the 12 tribes of Israel who are under attack by the power structure, and telling them the colonizers will soon be judged upon the coming of our Lord and Savior. The good news, or the gospel that Christ was teaching, was to bring the 12 tribes back under one fold. See? This gospel will have to be taught to identify God's people because they are under attack. Folks, that's what Jacob trouble is. The Gentiles have went from shore to shore, setting up their fake churches, setting up hospitals to get the genetics of our people, so that at the very end, they can get rid of us altogether. 7.
And as ye go, preach, saying, The kingdom of heaven is at hand.
And as you go, preach, saying, The kingdom of heaven is at hand. The kingdom for the same people. And you can't claim that this is about Gentiles, because at this time, Christ said, don't even go to the Gentiles. So first, he was seeking the teachers and the preachers to get God's people together first. Because these are the people who are under attack during Jacob's trouble. Not that we can't teach all people, but this gospel, what we're saying here, wasn't taught through the Catholic Church or the Christian churches. It doesn't matter. It's taught in the Christian churches. See? So when it says this gospel of the kingdom must be taught, let's go back.
Yes, sir. St. Matthew 24:14.
Read it.
And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world.
Now, what gospel of the kingdom? That Christ was sent to bring back the 12 tribes of Israel who were scattered throughout the earth. It wasn't until our present time have the world heard such a doctrine. See? And I'm going to straighten all of this out this coming Wednesday. This coming Wednesday, I'm going into this we're not from Africa will be the title. Why am I going there? It's because now it's starting to come up where people are saying, well, all people didn't go into slavery. There was indigenous people who were black people here in the land before the Romans came, before the conquistadors came. And a lot of people are saying, yeah, they must have been from Africa. No, they weren't from Africa. We are not from Africa. Now, if you want to say that we're from the land of Canaan of North Africa that was turned into Israel, yes, that's where we're from. Oh, 1 second. It just went out. 1 second. This thing get heated up and then it goes out. That's it. Go out.
Yes, sir.
Good? You good?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, and that's what I'm going into this coming Wednesday. Folks, we are not from Africa. And you got a lot of people now standing up saying, well, hold up. There was an indigenous people here before the Romans came here to colonize. And now they're talking about, well, we were here already, but still is trying to relate that to, well, some Africans must have come here. No. We're going to show you what happened with that. All of these people, these indigenous people and aborigines that were in these lands didn't come from Africa. They are part of the diaspora of Israelites being scattered throughout the earth. This is why those in Africa who were Israelites look like the Israelites that were over here who were black also. And I'm going to totally dispel this thing of Africa this coming Wednesday. We are not from Africa. We're from Israel. We're from Jerusalem. Now, if you want to say Ham had 4 sons, and all 4 sons, including the Canaanites, lived predominantly in North Africa, then guess what? I'll give you that. But North Africa, listen to this, were predominantly Hamites. We were Shemites who came out of Egypt into the land of Canaan, which was turned to Israel. And that's where God's temple, where Christ is speaking of from, was. We are from Jerusalem. Okay? So we're going to straighten all that out this Wednesday. Because now it comes down to when we start saying something here about the injustices in America, you'll have these immigrants and colonizers coming, well, why don't y'all go back to Africa? We were here before the ships came. Now what? Why don't you go back from where you came from? Because this land was promised to us before the colonizers came. The 10 tribes were here. So that's another grift. That's why I hate that back to Africa grift they have out there, where they try to sell us an African package. Well, man, why don't you go to that, man? We need to go back to Africa, man, and change things. No. Africa is not our homeland. Okay? We cannot fix Africa. Africa will not be fixed. It's a part of the curse. When Christ returns, we'll all go back into the land that belonged to our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's the only way Africa can be fixed. A matter of fact, the name Africa comes from one of the sons of Abraham, one of the children of Abraham. Shemites. So I'm going to straighten that out this Wednesday to prove we are not Africans. All that back to Africa grift, Pan-African garbage. Now, do we love the people of Africa? Do we care for the people of Africa? Absolutely. Are we preaching the gospel to our brothers and sisters who are in the wildernesses of Africa like we are in America? Okay? We're wanderers, strangers in these lands until Christ returns. Yes, we love our people in Africa, but we're not going for the African grift anymore. Okay? We were here before the colonizers came as the children of Israel. Read on.
15. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand.
And it says, when you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, that's the fall of our people, Israel, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi by the hands of the Romans. That happened. That's history, folks. This happened in 70 AD.
Right.
So he told the disciples that we will fulfill the prophecy of losing Jerusalem. It's called the desolation that was given to what? Prophet Daniel. Stand in the holy place. Whoso readeth, let him understand. Okay. Now the holy place at this time, people thought they can go to the mount or go to certain places, but they had to leave from the outer skirts of Israel before the Romans would come. Read 16.
16. Then let them which be in Judea flee to the mountains.
That's how we got into Africa. That's how we got into Morocco, Spain, and all these others. When they talk about the expulsion of Jews from Spain, it wasn't speaking of those who were dealing with the religion of Judaism. It was speaking of our people who was already scattered there, the black Israelites who were later converted by the Muslims and were called Moors. The expulsion was our people getting expelled. After we lost that history, you have other people who are converts, who are now claiming that they've always been harmed for thousands of years and expelled when the expulsion happened to us. And we're setting history straight. There was never no expulsion of Roman Jewish people.
Verse 17. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days.
Why is it saying that, folks? Because it's going to happen again. They surround you like they're doing with immigrants and all these others right now. And when it comes down to what? Having to leave and go into another area or leave altogether. That's right, folks. You may have to walk away without even going back to get anything. That desolation is going to happen again, but on a global scale. not just in one area like it was in Jerusalem. They're doing the same playbook again throughout all of the places they found the children of Israel. Are you following me here? 20.
Verse 20. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day.
But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, because it's hard to travel during the winter. And it says neither on the Sabbath day, because why? Usually our people would be resting on the Sabbath day. So if you're standing still and the Romans know where you are, they can easily destroy you. So usually Christ was giving us an insight. Listen, don't be trying to get out during the winter, and don't worry about it on the Sabbath day. Be out well before any of these particulars here, because the Romans will know exactly where you are on the Sabbath. You're in the synagogues, so they'll come and get you. The same way you're going to have a lot of Christians, they're going to know where to find them, because they'll all be there on a Sunday. So he's saying, well, listen, get ready to leave with what? With the clothes on your back, and if possible, a go bag. And don't try to do it when it's hard to travel, like in the wintertime. Read.
21. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be.
Read.
And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved.
If Christ didn't cut Esau's time short, no flesh would make it. You have to realize, folks, Esau at the helm is a sociopath, a psychopath. Okay? He teaches through psychology, folks. Think about this. He teaches depopulation. Even within the society itself, he teaches depopulation. People against people, family against family, gender against gender, same sex, and all these other things. And it says here, because that the more you deal with these particular lifestyles, the less what? The less children will be born for the future. Get born for the future. Then if you make relationships unattainable where man cannot get along with woman, eventually there's what? You got it. No, less children. And then when you look at the diseases and all that others that they're cooking in laboratories that we see, who knew that they had laboratories in Wuhan and other places? Some of these diseases or some of these solutions can lead to sterility. Attack on women's ovaries where they can't have children. On men's virility, making them sterile. So you put all this together, along with them poisoning, allegedly, the food with soybean, and all this other stuff, poisoning the waters, everything, every spill or every crash that happens, we hear about the water getting poisoned. Man, the Bible is saying, listen, if he don't cut time short, none of us will be left. We have madmen at the helm. Think about this, folks. They're destroying family, separating family, making it where there's no financial stability, so that when we have children, we give up our children, and they're giving our children to the letter people to be raised. Think about this. How long you think God, the Most High God, is going to allow this? And Christ says, listen, can't you see what they're doing? They're killing off humanity right in front of our faces, and none of us are standing up and saying enough is enough. So if you're going to allow them to take your children, poison your children, and poison your food, well, this is what you get. Because the people are weak and have given up, and guess what? They're outright fearful. So it says, except Christ shortened Esau's days, none of us would be left. And we just allowed them to operate and finish what they were doing. Folks, None of Jacob would survive this. And now I'm looking at a video and I see the gangster disciples and the gangs are all coming together and saying, listen, we're just waiting for one of our children to get hurt this summer. Or one of our women to get raped this summer. And you know what? The whole thing is going to pop off. We're gonna blow Chicago. Hold on. 1 second here. 1 second, folks. Yeah, it's overheating. 1 second. Excuse me, the camera keep overheating. That's what it is. This particular camera is overheating, so. Right? So he says, listen, they're going to make it pop over there in Chicago if one of their children get hurt by these so-called illegals. And you know what? The government want that. They want that because once they have that, they can bring in the National Guards and now come up with some fake group that they're going to say happened amongst black people, like the Hamas here in America. They're going to name it something else. And then they're going to be able to come after our people under the clouds of that particular group and wipe them out. Wipe our people out. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Read on.
22. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved.
Read.
But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened.
But for the elect's sake, for our sake, Christ is going to shorten that time, brothers and sisters. Read.
23. Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not.
See that? Many false prophets shall come into the world, like it said earlier in those precepts. The false prophets would be saying what? Christ is here. Christ is there. That's a false prophet. Read.
For there, verse 24, for there shall arise false Christ and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, and so much that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect.
And they're going to be coming with what? Deception to a degree that if you believe them, what? It
they
says,
shall deceive the very elect.
If you didn't know Christ, you would be deceived unless you were chosen to see exactly the end times according to Christ's words. So if it was possible, the very elect would be deceived. But it's showing right here that if you are of the very elect, it's impossible. But these guys are going to become with so much trickery. Folks, I'm going to tell you right now. Their trickery is so on point. Deceptively. If we didn't have the truth, we would actually believe it. If we didn't know what Christ was saying here in totality. No. We understand, folks, that we're going to be as pilgrims on this earth. We're going to have to what? Use our assets and all of that and parlay them into other things so that when something is no longer viable to live here, we'll be able to be someplace else and live. And we'll be like that until the wilderness. We'll be like that until the wilderness, folks. So even with us planning, making food, getting land for refuge temporarily and all that, we're doing it with the mindset that one day we'll walk away from it because we prepared something else that can give us some time to preserve time up until the coming of our Lord and Savior. Anything we receive, we know it's temporal, to be utilized for the next stage before Christ returns. That's how you plan. 25.
Verse 25. Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, Behold, he is in the desert, go not forth.
Someone say, yeah, come on to the desert. Christ is over there. This is where Christ's going to pick us up at. No. Read.
Behold, he is in the secret chamber.
Man, I know exactly where Christ is going to be. I know exactly where we can go. No. Why? Why you don't believe it not? Because when Christ returns, every eye shall see. So I don't know what secret sauce you think you on that I know with this one place. No. Where Christ is going to be. No. Because when Christ returns, every eye shall see him. Read.
Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not.
Believe it not.
For as the lightning cometh out of the east.
And I'm going to tell you. And I'm going to show you, brothers and sisters, the super simpletons up in this world. You would have grown men with family following an unhinged woman into other countries. I need y'all to think about that. You would have grown men following a woman. That's how crazy it is right now. Where we find nothing like that anywhere in Scripture. Anywhere in the Bible can you find a woman in some type of leadership leading men towards them. (27) For as the lightning cometh out of the east and shineth unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Exactly. As lightning cometh out of the east and shineth in the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. He's coming straight from the east down into that area of the high mountain. And when he come, every eye shall see. So the last thing I'm going to do is listen to somebody talking about, yeah, I know where Christ is going to be, and this is where it is and all that. They got demons on them. When Christ come back, everyone living on earth will see him. And those who didn't make it to the wilderness as of yet, it tell you in the book of Isaiah that he's going to send out ships from Kittim to gather his people that are still in remote areas outside of the area. There's going to be some people still over here in the West after the fall of America who's going to have to be guided back to Jerusalem when Christ returns. But we'll all see his return. 24. 24 and 28. For wheresoever the carcass is.
Yes, sir. Verse 28. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together.
And it says, wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered also together. And what is this? The valley of Jehoshaphat, where all the nations are coming together in the Middle East for the final war to be what? Birds' food upon the coming of Christ. So they're all in the Middle East. They think they're there for oil. No, they're there so that all the armies of the earth can be utterly destroyed. So there'll be no army to rival Christ upon his return, folks, or to set up again and put the earth in fear. All of the UN armies, China and all that is in Africa and all these areas in the Middle East to become birds' food. 29, let's read it. 24, 29.
Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light.
Come on, hold on.
And the stars shall fall from heaven.
Come on, hold on.
And the powers of the heavens shall be shaken.
Come on, hold on 1 second. 1 second. We're almost done. Read that last piece again, other lawyer.
24 and 29.
Yep.
Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken.
And the powers of heaven shall be shaken. So when Christ returns, all of the stars, the moon, the sun, they'll all turn into their original angelic form to follow the only light back into the earth. That's what this is talking about, folks. All the luminaries that were created in the beginning must take their original angelic shape when Christ returns. And Christ will be the only light seen in the universe. It's going to be total darkness, dense darkness, then boom, light. And the whole world will know Christ has returned. 30.
And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn.
Why would they mourn? Everyone and their mothers are claiming they're waiting for Christ to return. Why are the tribes of the earth mourning? Because why? They received rulership for a time under Satan. There will be no Chinese president, Russian president, American president, African presidents. No. Every nation must bow and give their crown. That's why they're mourning, because now it's their time to serve. You're not calling no shots in this kingdom. Every nation, every race of people, when Christ returns, will have an ambassador from Israel to govern them. There will be no Chinese ambassador in leadership. There will be no East Indian president. There will be no Iraqi president. There will be no Egyptian president. The only ambassadors for every nation will be our people, God's people. And the law will reign over the earth. God's law will reign over the earth. So this is why the tribes of the earth will mourn, because their rulership over God's people, Jacob, has come to an end. Read.
And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory.
So why are they mourning? Buddha ain't going to save you in this time. Allah will not be able to save you in this time. The Vatican's God, which is Satan himself, will not be able to save you in this time. See? All the idols of the earth will fall. And all nations will bow to the true king, the King of Israel, King Judah. And his name is Yeshua. 31.
And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from the one end of heaven to the other.
Now that's crystal clear. So all of Israel is not going to be, even though a lot of us will go near the wilderness area and hope to be there, but there's going to be other Israelites throughout the four corners of the earth that's going to get guided there upon the coming of our Lord and Savior. See that? 32.
Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh. So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near.
Know that it is near.
Even at the door.
Even at the doors. When you see everything that we've discussed, know that we're this close to deliverance. See, and this is why the world have gone mad. This is why they're throwing everything at Jacob now. Go ahead, please sin. Do whatever you want. You want to become a boy? You want to become a girl? Just whatever. Let's get the whole world high. Molly, Percocet, Molly. Let's get everybody on everything. Drug dispensaries and marijuana dispensaries, psychedelics. He's just throwing everything at the wall because why? His time is up, folks, and they're just snatching souls at this point. Aim towards Jacob. Jacob indulging in sin and indulging in the evil pharmacy. They're just throwing everything. Men, women, go get on some apps. Be whatever you want. This guy with this woman with this man. No marriage is undefiled. Just they throwing everything at us now. Because why? Because they know they have a short time. So at this point, Satan is just snatching as many souls that will go to hell with him. (34)
Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all things be fulfilled.
And when it says this generation shall not pass, it's talking about the generations of what? The generations of Christ's birth to Christ's coming. The generations which is times, and a dividing of times. It's not speaking of no one generation. It's speaking of the whole generation span of the Roman Empire's rule. This generation shall not pass until all these things be fulfilled. Read.
Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away.
Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. Read 36.
But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only.
So no man knows the exact day or hour. How do we know this? Because the time that he gave them, he's cutting short. See? One moment. Almost done, folks. Almost done. Stick with me. Almost done. A matter of fact, let's do this. Be on the safe side. 1 second, folks. We're going to end it with this one here. Because I really have to get this one out. 1 second. One second, folks. Hold that. Don't worry about it. I gotta fix that camera. That's it right there. Yep, I can use that. There we go. There it is. That's it right there. Ready, the lawyer?
Sir.
All right. All right, we are good. Here we go. All right, other lawyer, go ahead. 26. 36, but of that day and hour?
But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only.
But my Father only, read.
But as the days of Noe were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
Same as the days of Noah. Read.
For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noe entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came, and took them all away, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
So the taken away were those who were evil. See that? Those who didn't listen to Noah were taken away. They flipped it through the Jesuit satanic doctrine to claim that the taken away are those in the church that will be taken into the clouds, when it's the evil that will be taken away for not following the message, the gospel. And knew not until the flood came and took them all away, and so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Read.
40. Then shall two be in the field, the one shall be taken,
The one that shall be taken are the evil. Read.
and the other left.
And the ones that are left are the righteous. Read.
41. Two women shall be grinding at the mill,
Working.
the one shall be taken,
That because they didn't listen.
and the other left.
The ones that are left are the righteous. Read.
42. Watch therefore, for ye know not what hour your Lord doth come.
Watch ye therefore, for ye know not what hour your Lord doeth come. Now, in preparation for this, right? Let's go into what we see with the migrants and all that real quick. Let's go into, real quick, 2nd Esdras, where it talks about be like pilgrims in that day. And they shall put you out of your houses.
16 and 40.
1 second, Elder Lawyer. Yep, let's go.
All right, 2nd Ezra 16 and 40.
2nd Esdras, let's get it real quick. Yeah, that's it. All right, 2nd Esdras 16. 2nd Esdras 16, verse 40, you said, right, Elder?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's get it. Yep. Oh, my people.
Yes, sir. O my people, hear my word, make you ready to the battle,
Make you ready to the battle,
and in those evils be even as pilgrims upon the earth.
and in those evils we must be as pilgrims upon the earth. How did Esau get America? They came over as pilgrims. They were willing to leave where they were and survive in a new land to overcome and one day rule the land that they were pilgrims in. So we must be able to do what? We must have enough faith, more than the enemy, to one day up and leave with what we have to sustain us. We have to be like pilgrims, because eventually it will all get taken away anyway. Read.
41. He that selleth, let him be as he that fleeth away.
So when you're selling, it says, let him be as one that fleeth away. Read.
He that buyeth, as one that will lose.
And he that buyeth as one that will lose. So you would have to have some level of what? Understanding on what to do with assets and all of that. Parlaying out of one thing into something else that will sustain you for some time. Or have something else in play, knowing that you might lose what you have right now. See? 42.
He that occupieth merchandise, as he that have no profit by it, and he that buildeth, as he that shall not dwell therein.
And it says, and he that buildeth have the mindset that one day you won't live here. But the Most High did what? He fulfilled his promise in us by giving us food, shelter, and raiment all the way through, regardless of where you are laying your head. So if he provided up into this time, don't let the place you in that you love and work for be the anchor that will lead to that place you're living becoming your tomb. Be ready to let go. And that comes with planning and being moved by the Spirit when it's time to go. Be ready to go. And another thing, don't let anyone pressure you into doing something. Operate in the Spirit. Don't let anyone try to pressure you into doing something, because usually they're trying to tell you to sell what you got so that they can get your money. Oh, I can help you with the whole thing. I bet you can. So let nobody try to pressure you. That's why even when we traveled the country and went places and set up in all other areas and churches and all that, this is why we were never over anyone's finances, ever. We didn't want to be involved in anything that you were dealing with like that. Okay? So you'll have these people overseas saying, I got the hookup. And you're going to be taken, and you're not even realizing that they're splitting money with the foreigners, betting on you, betting on your fear. And guess what? This is how they're going to totally gank you. That's why even overseas, like, no, I'm not responsible for none of your finances. A man is over your house. That's your husband, your wife. That's your family. I don't got nothing to do with your living expenses. None of that. Okay? That's your business, your money. People will never tell you. They'll tell you, people have never given us anything. When we traveled the earth, 2009, 2010, they'll tell you, people have never given us anything, because we don't want to have that responsibility on us. You're responsible for your home. So watch these people are talking about, yeah, I know I got a hookup over here. I can make sure you have a place. I can make sure, folks, these are con games. And at the end, you're going to regret it. The same way. You'll never hear me talk about, well, yeah, I'll tell you what, here's some land you can live on. Come and break me off what you got, and you can live on this land. That's utterly ridiculous. When it all breaks down and we all agree what we got, put it all in a pot for all together so that we can survive that week or going forward, that's something different. He that occupieth merchandise as he that have no profit by it, and he that buildeth as he that shall not dwell therein. Read.
43. He that soweth as if he should not reap, so also he that planteth the vineyard as he that shall not gather the grapes.
Now let's go down to where it talks about they shall put you out of your houses.
Yes, sir. Verse 70.
Let's go straight to 70, the 70th verse.
For there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord.
And this is what's going on in Chicago and the inner cities, and with the so-called migrant crisis. It's not a migrant. There's no crisis going on, folks, at all. This is war. They've incentivized other people to war against Judah and Israel in the inner cities. This is what we're looking at. The great insurrection upon those who fear God. Against us, the true believers. And what's going to happen? Read 71.
They shall be like mad men, sparing none.
Sparing none. And that's these people they let in your communities. They're going to be madmen. They're going to be taking people's children. You're going to hear about organ harvesting. You're going to hear about our children going missing. All these people that are operating in the black market that was doing it in other countries, they're next door to you now. They're next door to you now. So if they if some rich guy in the country they come from need a kidney, need a heart, need an organ, guess what, folks? Easy pickings. They're in the midst of the children of Israel with these healthy organs, with these healthy bodies, whom the world have no worth in. The world could care less for these people. So if somebody from their homeland needs some organs, they're going to be able to get some quick bucks by snatching people. And I'm going to tell you, it's going to be outright warfare. in these communities. They shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still be spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. Read.
72. For they shall waste and take away their goods.
They shall waste and take away their goods.
And cast them out of their houses.
And eventually our people are not going to be able to pay to live. Casting people out of their houses. That's right, folks. They're going to have alternative camps for those who can't afford to live amongst regular society. So they're going to give you a place to stay, but it's not going to be like it used to be. All of the housing in our community now have been transferred over to the mercenaries you see who are in your inner cities labeled as migrants. They're going to reject the vouchers for Section 8. They're going to cut off welfare and say you can work and we'll give you a stipend for your work. And if you need a place to stay, we're going to give you the camps where some of these illegals used to live on the outside before we opened the gates. You can stay there. They will waste and take away their goods. They already started taking away our goods by transferring our finances to illegals and cast them out of their houses. That's right, folks. We're talking about putting people on the streets. It was written in the prophets what our people would experience before deliverance. Jacob's trouble. But what comes out of this? 73.
Then shall they be known who are my chosen.
At that point, we're going to find out who really believed in God, who really claimed they had the faith of the righteous. Now, either you're going to sell all the way out for a piece of bread against your people, or stand with God and say, Lord, I came into this world without nothing. Guide me. I'm on your side. Guide me. The devil have taken everything away. He have stripped me bare like the prophet Job. Help me. And folks, that's when you're going to find out that the God who have delivered you this truth was present the whole time. We're not going to make knee-jerk decisions out of emotions. Because why? Brothers and sisters, we're not home anyway. So what if the devil strip everything from you? This is not home. Now you can stand 2 feet grounded with the Almighty and say, Lord, I'm yours. Whatever you need from me, I'll do. Guide me. The whole earth is my house now. The earth is your footstool. I'll serve you. Then it shall be known who is my chosen, because the majority of the people, like they did during the time of the jab, is going to fold. The majority of people will be crying on the street saying, woe is me, woe is me. They've given the migrants everything, when this is the legislation you voted for. These are everything you're exhibiting, you participated in by saying this is what we wanted. Because you trusted in the government and the political system more than God. And the political system it's just going to remind you of who you are and who they are under every circumstance. And that same political system is now throwing our people out to the streets. But the Most High has a hand in it. We're being tried, right? So it states here, then shall they be known who are my chosen. We can talk about that chosen stuff and us being a child of God when everything is comfortable. When you're comfortable. But when things become uncomfortable, what choices will you make? See? I know what it is to have nothing. I know what it is to have a lot. See, I know what it is. Hey, listen, give me a small cot, a blow-up bed, and guess what? I'll find something to make to eat. I don't need much. As long as I got my Bible with me and I can teach the word of God. I've been throughout this whole earth with nothing. Okay? So to know how to adjust under any circumstance, because it's the Most High who guides us. It's the Most High who was with me when I had nothing and have guided me to be able to get substance, knowing that what? A drought is coming. And we're going to have to feed ourselves for a time because the enemy is drawing back any finances that's aimed towards helping God's people. So it's on us now. Read it. And they shall what?
And they shall be tried as gold in the fire.
They shall be tried as gold in the fire. See? See, gold, when we buy gold, when you see people buy gold, it's all shining. That's not how gold looks initially. When our people be panning the gold, you can hardly tell the difference between gold and a rock, really, until you see a little shine in it. But then they put that gold in the fire, and what happens? All the infirmities and soil burns out of it, and the gold begins to shine as liquid, separated particles from the bad stuff. And then you get that golden nugget that shines because what? All the dirt, all the stuff that took away its luster or stopped its luster no longer is a part of the gold itself. This is what the Most High will do with everyone he loves. He will purge us to separate us from the infirmities that leads us to hell so that we're shining like pure gold. So now it's not the substance and the things we have acquired and just the stuff we've acquired is the example of success or what we can actually be proud about concerning our achievements. Because these things can be taken away. Things can be taken away. So we look at the things we've acquired or accumulated as the bar for success to show forth a blessing. Well, what if the Most High take it away? See? Now you believe you're worthless. You're worth less. Because everything was wrapped up into things. Your worth, your acceptance to the world was based on the things you've accumulated. When really that's not what the Most High is looking at. He's looking at the inner man. Because he can take you anywhere. He can bring you down and make you poor, or he can make you rich overnight. It's what's in you. And that's the spirit you take as a pilgrim anywhere. Anything that I build any place, I can do it anywhere on this earth because it's in me to do. Because I don't trust in one territory, one thing, one place. I trust in the Almighty and I trust in his Son. Christ could have had anything in this earth, but he walked this earth as a pilgrim and was able to utilize everything in it. Hey, Peter, James, others, put down your net. Put down your net and come follow me. I'm going to make you fishers of men. How much did Christ pay for a boat? Nothing. They cleaned that fish smell out of the boat and they traveled all throughout the areas of Israel on the outer skirts to teach the gospel. Here it is. There was no planes back then, but now Christ has a boat. He has ships now. So there was no need for him to try to acquire things because the whole earth serviced him for God's sake. And that's the mentality we must have, that the Most High has what? He has something to sustain us somewhere else if we walk away. Don't panic. Now let's talk about money real quick. Ecclesiastes, Elder Lawyer, 7 and 12. Let's talk about money real quick. Ecclesiastes 7 and 12. Let's read that.
Ecclesiastes 7 and 12.
Yeah, read it.
For wisdom is a defense.
Wisdom is a defense. See, that's our defense system. See? Wisdom. Wisdom lets us know not to listen to anything the enemy tells us. That the enemy isn't telling us anything for our benefit. So the wisdom tells me to defend myself, my body, my health alive. I must not listen to the deceivers. They use fear as a way of trapping us. I fear nothing. I fear no man. I fear God only. Therefore, I could care less what they're using out there to scare us into destroying ourselves. That's why years ago, when there was fear 24 hours a day, I was ignoring that junk. And I continue to teach the word of God. And I was outside every day looking at the whole world who claimed that they had it going on and had all this power. Grown men running around scared to come outside. Folks, that was a great sign for me in of itself. In of itself, to prove how weak and scared people really are. You will have people, folks, who would destroy a man with his bare hands, out there scared of something they said was floating up outside and was scared to get next to other people. I was checking everyone out. And you know what? I was walking every day like everything was cool. Everybody got a mask on and I'm sitting there with no mask looking at these people and they looking at me like something is wrong with me. Because I wanted to prove at the end of it, when they see me again, after the scare is gone, maybe they would have some level of inquisitive spirit to ask me questions like, you didn't do anything. Why aren't you dead? I thought that maybe something would jog in them to say, well, hold up. This guy didn't follow none of this crap and wasn't scared of anything. What God you serve? And at that point, I understood how fake this world is and how fake people are. Because they'll play hard and strong. They'll play like they're tough and all that. But the only thing the government have to say is that something is floating around. And in that instance, they can take you out. Because you're scared, they know exactly where you're going to be because you're scared to come outside. See? Wisdom is a defense.
And money is a defense.
And money is a what?
Is a defense.
Is a defense. Money in of itself isn't bad if you know what to do with it. See? If you have the wisdom of the Almighty, you know that there's going to be a time where the money is going to come freely, and you know when eventually it'll be cut off. So what I'm going to do with the money before they cut it off? Put it into something tangible that will sustain when the system fails. And I'm going to be talking about that even while we're at the symposium in a couple of weeks. In Augusta, I'm going to be talking about that. Because here it is, we're making all this money and this salary with all these degrees, and at the end of the year, we don't have any money to show for all the work we've actually put in for these corporations or others. So that's a slave. That's a slave. Think about it. The slave quarters were actually paid for by the plantation owners. That means they were willing to pay for our quarters as long as we worked. Our dental, when we got sick, they had to pay for our health care because you can't have a sick slave, right? That would slow up the work. So they had to pay for all of that. Now they made it where they put you in a system where you work and you have to pay for it yourself now with nothing to show for it. So they just changed the dynamics of slavery or servitude. But instead, we're paying for our own now, opposed to them paying for it. So if you're not seeing anything at the end of the year for what you're actually, for what you've actually sown and working, what's the difference between that and being on the plantations? There was nothing to show for it back then, but we still had a place to stay. We had we had food every day, and our health care was taken care of. So it's really no different. It's just a higher standard from where we were. Just a little higher standard. The optics of freedom. So understand it says, for wisdom is a defense, money is a defense. So money in of itself isn't bad if you know how to plan. Ask the prophets. Abraham had much. Isaac had much. The 12 tribes had much. But they understood what to do with it. Money is a defense, but what's excellent above them all? Read.
But the excellency of knowledge.
But the excellency of knowledge
is that wisdom giveth life to them that have it.
Wisdom giveth life to them that have it. With all of it, you must have the knowledge to know how to deal with resources. If you're just chasing money and don't have wisdom, the money will do nothing. You'll just spend it and put it back into the system to those who are oppressing you. So money is a defense. If you understand, well, a certain portion of this go towards not a rainy day. Okay? We're talking about a famine where there's nothing left. What resources do I have in place to sustain myself for a time? We're going to be discussing that in the near future. Last, now when does money work counter to people? When it's counter to why God says money is a defense. So there's pros and cons. The pro is, if you got money, you can plan, you can do things. It gives you flexibility. It gives you choices in case of emergencies, right? So it can defend you against a lot of things, right? Now, this is where money goes wrong. Let's go to 1 Timothy 6. 1 Timothy 6, verse 10. Let's read it.
1 Timothy 6 and 10. For the love of money.
For the what?
For the love of money.
For the love of money.
Is the root of all evil.
Is the root of all evil. See? That's the root of everything evil. When your objective or your overall objective from any scenario is money. I want the money. If you're doing something strictly for the money, that's the root of all evil, because now someone can come dangle some money over you in exchange for your soul. See? In exchange for you betraying your own people. Because they know you just want the money. Like people are saying, I'm out here to get the bag. But at what cost? Your soul? See? It's the love of money is the root of all evil. But if you have objectives and you have plans in place where you're getting finances, knowing that you're preparing for when things break down, that's not the love of money. That's money as a defense. Y'all see the difference? So if you're doing something and it's strictly to maximize profit, because you want to make more money and let me take this money and make more money, then no, that's the love of money. That means at any time, Satan can use that for an exchange for something. Y'all got that? I want y'all to understand the difference. Read on. We'll end it here. Which while some coveted after. Like we see last Wednesday, the music business. They know our people are impoverished, and they offer our people what? Prestige, recognition, and finances for an exchange on something. Give up your people. Sell your soul. Compromise your morality. And we'll give you all the money you want. Help destroy your people. Because if they know this is what you're looking for, this is what you're covet after. You're just coveting and wanting things to shop and do this, that, and the other. While some coveted after. That means some people, their whole existence is that. So the enemy can use that in instances like we see with P. Diddy and others. Because that's all they want. They're not thinking about how can I save my people? How can anything I acquire can benefit God's people? If something go down, what can I do to sustain the people who are now being what? Left out of the financial sphere. Who's going to feed my people? And these are the things I have to think about, especially for those who are baptized within the church, who have always been a part of the church. If something go down, can we feed them? Can we give them temporal refuge when something happened in the city? But none of that happens unless we do the right thing in planning to get resources to know that that time is coming. And I'm putting it out there. And it says, they have erred from the faith and pierced themselves through with many sorrows, where money have become the objective. And I'm putting this out there because when you see us doing things like the Royalty Summit that's coming, this coming in 2 weeks, folks, that's a church initiative. Guess how much money I get out of that? Zero. I get a donut from that. I'm willing to give my time and my spirit and my know-how to be a part of it because I know we can accumulate some finances that can go back into the gathering of Christ Church. And with those resources, land, organic food, and others. Guess what? And this is what y'all don't know, folks. Even when I collect at these teachings, when I collect offerings, an offering is supposed to go to the one that's teaching. Do y'all know this? Guess what, folks? It all goes into the church. I don't get 1 cent out of those offerings when we come together on Sabbaths and all that to teach. Elder Lawyer will tell you, not once after an offering happened that we sit in the back of the room and I take what and say, Elder Hun, you can have, let's split this in half. Mm-hmm. It never happens. Right. It goes directly to Treasury. They mark what it is and it goes into the church. not one thing of offering when I teach comes to me. Not one red cent. Because what belongs in the church is it's my giving to the church. If I get something, whatever I get, I got to pay taxes on what I get. And that's my money. And that's it. But I never take anything from the church. Zero. And it's important that y'all understand that, because y'all may look at some of the ventures we do and all that and say, well, hold up. What is this? Nah. We have a certain amount of time before the resources are cut off altogether. And servants of the Almighty we're going to need something to feed our people with. And if we don't think forward with it, then there'll be nothing to help sustain us and the people of this church. Now, I know y'all rarely hear me talk about that, but I need y'all to know that when we give these, like the symposium, these 2 days, folks, I don't get any money from any of that. Them tireless nights where I got to be there for the people and pray with the people and talk with the people, set up everything that's going to be there. I'll be there for the play. The next day I'll teach the next morning, and I'll be tired coming in Sunday morning. And guess what I get, folks? A big fat zero. But it's good enough to know that it's going into the church. So I need y'all to know that. I don't get anything from that. But guess what? But I do get something on the other side of it. The blessings from the Most High. That he continue to bestow health upon me, my family, and those I care about. That he'll give me breath to continue to teach and to help God's people. See? He's given me longevity. He's given me health. He's given me a sound mind. And the spirit that when I open up this book, it's a blessing to understand what he's conveying to me, to share with others. And folks, you cannot put a price on wisdom. I'm grateful to understand what the Most High have given me. And you can't quantify. Nobody can pay me anything in comparison to that. So I thought I would put it out there, because usually when people see us doing stuff and all that, in a carnal mind, seeing how the churches out there operate, immediately people start thinking, hold up, man, this is like some Christian church type thing. Mm-hmm. Not realizing that we're not like that. Okay? We know a drought is coming. A famine is coming. And money is a defense. We have to get resources. We have to get certain things in play. We have to make sure that we have it where brothers and sisters will know how to grow their own food. That we have equipment, stuff to run the equipment so that we can have our own food. Also, refuge. When something is going down in the city, we got to be able to prepare. Well, what happens if something go down in Chicago and the National Guards come in there? What are we going to do about the people that's in the church in Chicago? Where they can pivot into a city next to them temporarily to be taken care of till we find out what to do with those families. All of that is what churches are supposed to be doing, folks. Now, I'll say this. When it comes to the broadcast, like you see here or Wednesday, and where it says GOCC 144 donate, if we have blessed you all and you donate to us this way, yes, that comes to us. A just weight for a just measure. See? But I need y'all to know, when we do these big events like this, I, and Elder Lawyer will tell you, we gets absolutely nothing. Zero. And unless somebody go to our website and pick, okay, I want to send this to Elder Ricard Shiar or Elder Lawyer, and specific and name it that's what you want to do, that's the only way we'll get it. The money belongs to the church. Okay? And I thought that we'd be transparent because guess what? As the more we bless and grow and teach this truth, we know as a byproduct, blessings come with it. But we had to put what? We had to put checks and balances in place to where no one can claim that the Gathering of Christ Church is spending people's money. No, I spend my money. But the church money belongs to the church. Right. You know, so that's how you have to do it. Okay? I spend my money. I'm supposed to spend my money. Okay? Anything I work for, or just wait for, just measure, I can spend my money. But I can't spend the church's money. Okay? So when we do these things, when I'm at Passover, folks, and all that money be given for donations and all that, folks, it's labeled. The accountant labels everything, and it's put away. Mm-hmm. And it goes into if we have to set up a church somewhere or whatever the case is in a new location. We have the money for it. If people are suffering or whatever the case is, when people sometimes, unfortunately, the Most High take a few of our members, guess what? We got to be there to help in bereavements and all these others. So I'm being honest with y'all, so y'all straight out, so that there's no speculation out there, because you have an evildoer on the sidelines looking at, man, look at what they doing. Then you have them really, the pocket watchers. They'll be sitting there counting how many heads in the audience. Okay, where my calculator at? Money is a defense. Okay? With that, shalom. Get ready, folks. We're in for a serious summer. Watch your children. We're living in the end of days. See you tomorrow at the Academy. Shalom.
Shalom.
I opened up the book and see that the apple of your eye included me, and through the tribulation I know I must stand, for